was the first great champion trained by Ian McQuillan, who turned out 60 Australian title holders during a career that lasted half a century.
The happiest moment in my career was when Vic Patrick won the lightweight title.
At the height of World War II, Vic Patrick, born Victor Patrick Luca into a large Italian family, was transformed by Ian McQuillan from an ungainly southpaw into a knockout machine with an Irish-Australian name. Patrick was born in 1920 in the Hawkesbury area north of Sydney and grew up working his old man's oyster leases. It was tough work. At the age of 18, he moved in with his sister at the inner Sydney suburb of Newtown. Patrick first rose to prominence in 1941 when he took on America's former world champ Todd Morgan here for the Australian Lightweight Championship, taking the title by a 15-round decision.
He was as common as a fox. He used to talk to you. He used to say, "Hey, what are you doing? You hitting me low, don't hit me low, shake hands," and all that sort of stuff, you know. And when you stopped to shake hands, he'd job you. And he broke my nose in that fight, and I fought all the way through it with a broken nose, so I never stopped.
Throughout Patrick's career, he had to fight bigger men simply to get bouts. Two bigger blokes he belted were these two, Fancy Dan, blonde boxer Hockey Manel, and his opponent Ron McLaughlin, who Patrick beat for the Australian welterweight title in 1942. But bigger fights loomed for the people of Australia. Japan's bombing of Pearl Harbor in 1941 catapulted America into the war. Only months later, a Japanese air raid on Darwin brought the fighting to our mainland. New Guinea was also under siege, and Australian troops fought fiercely along the vital Kokoda Trail. In November, the diggers bravely wore down the enemy. Title bouts were curtailed due to the war effort, and on many occasions, fights involving the Allied services took their place. Former top rugby league prop Ray Steer, who was often sent from the field for foul play, was a more than capable boxer, or should I say brawler, as he showed in this clash with Man Mountain Les McNabb. During the war, a host of stars arrived in Australia to entertain the troops. Among the visitors, Bob Hope.
You think I could take it? No, you see, you have to forget all about fear.
Well, that's for me.
You have to forget all about comfort.
That's for me.
You have to forget all about women.
That's for them. Say,
Rising to the top at the same time as Vic Patrick was a young man who hailed from the New South Wales north coast town of Mullumbimby. He was born Geoffrey Murphy, but took the name of the old heavyweight champ Tommy Burns. As a hungry kid looking to build up his physique, he wasn't a natural fighter, but his trainer converted him.
He said, "I don't want to fight, I don't like fighting," which I didn't. I just liked it. Even at school, when there was a fight on, I used to shoot through and get away from it. I never liked it, violence of any kind, honestly. And I didn't like fighting. So in the next breath I said, how much do they get for a fight?
Like it or loathe it, boxing made Burns rich and famous in the 1940s.
go, go, go. We're just surrounded with them. And believe me, we like it.
By 1941, Burns had recorded a succession of impressive victories that saw him come to Sydney. He was a good-looking hero who kept throwing punches and would never quit. Burns would eventually be matched with Vic Patrick in a fight that remains a classic. Meanwhile, Patrick had joined the Australian Army Service Corps and was able to take time off for boxing. In town was Vic Calto. Calto was thick-set with huge shoulders and a massive chest. But when it came to power, Patrick had all the muscle. The rugged Kiwi lost twice to Patrick, but made Vic earn his money. Also in Australia were other top-line boxing celebrities. Gene Tunney, the former world heavyweight champ. And Jack Dempsey, Tunney's great old rival, paid a visit to the Melbourne Zoo. May 7, 1945, and peace came to a battered Europe. The Allied invasion finally ended Hitler's dream of European conquest. Germany surrendered, and 3 months later, the atomic bombing of Japan by the Americans saw the unconditional surrender of the Japanese and the end of the war in the Pacific. Crowds Crowds went wild in cities and towns across Australia and New Zealand to celebrate victory. People partied night and day. On a sad note, the man who had guided Australia through the tough times of the war, Prime Minister John Curtin, passed away only a month earlier. With the war behind us, the shift in the social